Before we get started, just a reminder that you can stay up to date on all of CollegeVine's latest videos by hitting the subscribe button below and ringing the notification bell. We share top tips on how to build a strong school list, how to write essays that will impress your admissions officers, and how to get into your dream schools. Don't miss out. We're talking today about how to become a lawyer. This stream isn't really going to deal with what lawyers actually do or what you can expect to have as different components of your work if you eventually do become a lawyer. This is really geared towards setting yourself up to become a lawyer in high school and college and maybe a little bit thereafter. There are many different paths you can take to becoming a lawyer, regardless of what extracurriculars you decide to participate in, regardless of what major you pursue, although some may be better suited or may prepare you a little bit better to go to law school and do well there. You can approach law school from a variety of different disciplines, so don't worry that if you pick a school that doesn't have a specific pre-law suggested track, like most don't, or if you do a STEM major or something that you think isn't totally directly related, that doesn't mean that you won't be able to get into law school and become a successful lawyer. First, I'm going to do some very general background. We'll talk about what kinds of things you might want to do in high school to best set yourself up for law school. This is going to apply particularly to those of you who have decided already that you want to pursue law and you're going to build your college applications around a desire to eventually go to law school and become a lawyer, or at least go to law school. And remember, you don't need to build your high school and college profile around being a lawyer. You can still become a lawyer regardless, but this is especially applicable to those of you who already know what you want to do. We'll talk about what kinds of things you might do in college to best prepare yourself to get into a good law school and to excel in law school. We'll talk about what to do after college, and finally we'll chat about what it takes to get hired as a lawyer. What kind of skills do lawyers need? Well, it should come as no surprise to any of you that if you want to be a successful lawyer, you're going to need some serious writing skills. You're going to need to communicate with clients directly, through emails and things, but in terms of writing briefs and editing litigation and you're going to need to rely on pretty strong writing skills. So the more you can do to develop those skills early on, the better you'll prepare yourself for law school and the legal profession. You're going to need some good teamwork and client relations skills, people skills in general. Pretty important for many careers, and being a lawyer is no exception. You're going to need good research and analysis skills. Last but definitely not least, you're going to have to be really good at organizing and articulating complex ideas, particularly on the spot if you're ever any kind of trial lawyer, right? The better you can do this, the more effective a lawyer you're probably going to be. What tasks are you going to have to take up? You're going to have to represent clients, possibly both in court, also probably in private legal settings. You're going to have to do a lot of research and interpret past cases and current legislation to build an argument. Of course, you're going to have to be adept at working with others. It gets back to that teamwork and people skills stuff, right? You're not just going to have to work with your clients and other lawyers. You're going to have to, deal with all kinds of other parties involved in cases. Could be anything from law enforcement to expert witnesses. Where do lawyers work? Well, a lot of lawyers work at law firms, especially lawyers coming right out of law school. Law firm, very popular place to work. You can go into private practice and build kind of your own firm. A lot of lawyers choose to work for government. And of course, some lawyers work as in-house counsel at various corporations. How much money do lawyers make? Well, it's a complex issue and there are a lot of numbers. It depends, of course, on which kind of law you pursue and also where you choose to work. A really general average, I think this is according to salary.com, for lawyers in America, like the entire country, I should say the USA specifically, make between $51,000 and $158,000 per year. Of course, it's a huge average. If we break it down into different kinds of law, we see that corporate lawyers tend to make a lot of money, sometimes a lot more than any other kind of lawyer. A family lawyer, $69,000 about. Immigration lawyer, $61,000. Patent lawyers, according to our metric, make a lot as well, $123,000 on average. Of course, do remember that it very much depends on where you are. As you can see, the average lawyer in San Francisco or Los Angeles makes $178,000, which is a lot more than the average lawyer in the whole country. And in fact, the average lawyer in San Jose, according to Zippia, makes even more, I think above $200,000 by a bit. Houston and Dallas, $165,000. But if you're a lawyer in a rural or less populous area, you're probably going to make, well, on average, you'll make a bit less. These are not caps. These are averages. I'm sure we all know or know of lawyers who make many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, particularly corporate lawyers. If you are doing corporate law, patent law, in a major city, you can probably expect to make a good deal of money, more than these averages. What are the qualifications for becoming a lawyer? Well, you're going to have a bachelor's degree. Often is a BA, could also be a BS. That's going to take you 4 years. Law school, probably going to take you 3 years. And then you're also going to need some licensing. You're going to have to pass the bar in whatever state you're hoping to practice. And of course, it's not an easy test. Let's talk about the ways in which you might set yourself up in high school. Writing intensive courses and also, in general, history intensive courses are going to help prepare you for the kinds of things you'll have to do in law school and as a lawyer. At CollegeVine, we'd recommend English, ideally, if you can take AP, Lit or Lang, or IB if that's offered, or if not, at least honors. Ditto for US history. AP or IB is great. If AP government is offered at your school, another great class that will definitely help prepare you for, your coursework in college and eventually your coursework in law school. What kinds of extracurriculars might you do? You could always do job shadowing. This goes for, most careers. If there's a local law firm that you can check out, shadow someone there, shadow an attorney there, whatever it may be. There's some clubs, mock trial being the most obvious, perhaps. Speech and debate, Model UN also being really good examples of clubs that are going to give you a lot of the skills you'll depend on as a lawyer, particularly if you argue in trials. Journalism, another good example. If you have a school newspaper that you can work for, you're gonna get a lot of practice writing, making your ideas as concise and clear as possible, synthesizing different ideas. These are all excellent ways to prepare yourself eventually for law school and for the legal profession. How about applying to college? This is gonna go specifically if you're building a college application profile around your interest in eventually becoming a lawyer. If that's the case for you, this is gonna be the most applicable. SAT subject tests you might consider taking, anything in literature, the lit test, which tests reading, writing, comprehension, or, of course, US history. Please remember, everyone, subject tests, not mandatory this year anywhere. They may come back at a couple schools next year, but in general, subject tests have become less and less important part of the admissions process year after year. This year, because of COVID, it's totally optional. So if you're applying this year and you don't have subject tests, don't worry, you're fine. It's a good bonus for you. If you have a good SAT 2 score, send it. If not, don't worry. The general SAT or ACT and your GPA and your essays are the more important parts of your application. How about essays? This would go specifically if you have a supplemental essay that asks why you want to pursue a particular career or what kind of career you want to pursue and why. Or if you had a supplemental essay that asked why you want to pursue a particular major and you were going to frame that discussion based around how that major is going to support you in your career interests. If you want to write specific essays about your interest in law, this is what we would suggest. Start at that broad, high-level interest, the background things that attract you to law. Maybe you have a seriously or profoundly analytical mindset, and you have great logical problem-solving abilities, and you love exercising those abilities. Maybe you're, really interested and really good at articulating and organizing your thoughts in interesting and unique ways. Maybe you're deeply committed to advocating for others, maybe specifically marginalized people, or you want to make a difference somehow. Do remember that getting a JD doesn't necessarily mean you have to work as a lawyer, right? I mean, for instance, many politicians have JDs. And the political field is full of people with JDs. So it is a great way to go if you want to ultimately make a difference in government, for example. You would maybe go on from those high-level interests, narrowing down a little bit to your specific experiences in related areas, maybe in your extracurriculars. You could talk, for instance, about your experiences in mock trial or in speech and debate. Of course, this would go on to personal experiences as well. And then ultimately, you could talk about your specific career goals, what exactly you want to accomplish. Some programs to consider, as with many different professions, including medical school, business school, there are combined programs. If you really know that you want to be a lawyer right out the gate, you can apply to a 3+3 or a BA to JD. Some schools even have BS to JD. These programs are 3+3, usually 3 years of undergrad, 3 years of law school. So they often take 6 years instead of the normal 7. So you're cutting down on a year of school and possibly a year of tuition. Schools that offer these combined programs include University of Arizona, UPenn, DePaul University, and Quinnipiac. How about top 5 schools for lawyers? This is ripped directly from US News. These are the best law schools in the country. So of course, Yale clocks in at number 1, Stanford at 2, Harvard at 3, Columbia at 4, and 5, the University of Chicago. So if you, are shooting for these top law schools, you may have an illustrious career in the legal profession ahead of you. Possible majors that you might consider if you're interested in attending law school. You can go to any major and still go to law school. That said, a lot of times arts and humanities majors are popular with future lawyers because they'll give you a lot of the reading, writing skills and experience that you'll need to excel in law school. Some examples of these could be political science or government. This is particularly useful for those of you who are hoping to get JDs and then ultimately work in government, either as politicians or as advisors or as analysts or whatever. English, philosophy, psych is good if you want to really understand other people. This can be really useful if you're going to be arguing cases in trial. History is excellent. There's a large historical component of the legal field. If you're doing, different casework, you're going to have to be consulting cases historically and building arguments based on, past precedents and like. Economics, another good one, a little more mathy than some of the others here. And then sociology has some of that same positive benefits of understanding other people and things like psychology. Again, any major can work, and other arts and humanities majors can be excellent as well. As you pick your major and as you pick what school you want to attend, do remember that GPA is very important for law school. The school that you attend can be important. Your LSAT, or in some cases your GRE, is also going to be extremely, extremely, extremely important. And if you don't know what an LSAT is, that's like the SAT for people who are applying to law school. GPA is really important. Keep that in mind when you apply to a school, and keep that in mind as you pick your major. It's probably a good idea to avoid schools that have a lot of grade deflation. Some examples of these are UC Berkeley, infamously MIT, and Wellesley, Boston University as well. These are schools that have grade deflation policies that sort of affect everyone. Grade deflation can mean that ultimately the students graduating from that school will have on average lower grades than people who graduate from other schools, and that can look not excellent to law school admissions officers. That said, the schools I just listed are all fantastic schools and you should still consider going to them if you're interested and if you get in. Also good to remember, grade deflation often occurs mostly in STEM courses. Sometimes schools have like overall grade deflation systems like Wellesley, but not always. It can be a good idea to avoid some of those pre-med courses that have really harsh grading. If you want to keep your GPA up, just make sure you do your research. Go onto our blog, figure out what schools have the worst grade deflation and what subjects, and make sure you're taking classes and doing a major in which you're definitely going to succeed. How about specific courses you might consider taking in college? Well, there's no specific courses needed, but of course, just like in high school, writing intensive courses that really delve into critical reading and thinking. Another set of courses you might consider taking are math and logic-based courses. Logic, obviously a major, major component of the LSAT, and if you ever want to really puzzle yourself logically, consider taking some practice LSAT logic sections. Having also, in addition to those humanities classes or social science classes with large writing and reading components, having some logic and math-based coursework will also set you up to excel in law school and eventually in the legal profession. You can always take courses offered at a law school if you're going to a school that has a law school and cross-registering is possible. It may be a little bit tough as an undergrad to take law school courses. What kinds of extracurriculars might you participate in? Same kinds of things you might do in high school: student council, campus government, mock trials, speech and debate. You can also try to get some internships related to the legal field somehow. Finally, make sure that you prep for the LSAT if you're going to take it during college, as many people do. Just make sure you're going to do well on that test, whether it's by, getting some review books, having a tutor, taking practice tests, whatever it may be. The LSAT can really make up for a lot. If you have an amazing LSAT, you can still get into top law schools, even if your GPA isn't that good. What's up after college if you want to become a lawyer? Well, you're going to have to go to law school and you're going to have to pass the bar. No ways around it. Law school, it's going to take 3 years. Your hardest year probably going to be your first year, or so-called 1L. There's 1L, 2L, 3L. 1L is going to be tricky. A lot of times your grades often depend on the final exam. Shout outs to anyone who's seen Legally Blonde. Maybe not quite an accurate depiction of your 1L year. It's unlikely that you're going to be arguing a murder case in trial as a 1L. But otherwise, a lot of cold calling, a lot of group study, a lot of difficult classwork, all that seems kind of accurate. How about the bar? Well, it varies depending on the state. You'll take the bar in the state in which you're planning to practice. You can take it within a year of graduating. You're going to have to study. I mean, it's a hard exam. You're going to rely on 3 things to get hired. 1, work experience. 2, networking. 3, job applications, obviously. Hopefully by the time you're graduating from law school, you'll have some real experience working in a law firm or something similar. The summers between your law school years are really critical for this kind of thing. Your first year, the summer after your 1L, you're probably going to work in some kind of field that's specifically interesting to you. Whereas your next year, you're going to try to get a summer associate at like maybe a prestigious law firm or something like that. And that's really important and really tricky, right? Actually, that this is going to determine a lot of your law school trajectory, like what summer associate position you get for the summer after your 2L year. Because first of all, it's difficult, right? It's going to be an extensive interview process with many rounds. The law firm may fly you out or bring you down or whatever it may be. It's really critical because a lot of these summer associates get hired for permanent jobs at those law firms after they've finished their law school and passed the bar. So that summer associate position that you're looking for after 2L may be your career right out of law school. Networking, I mean, this goes for any field. As you progress through the legal education, you're going to want to be making connections at school and through your work, through your internships, through your jobs, associateships. You'll want to focus on firms that match your specific interests. And as long as you work hard and you're competent and persistent, you should develop a good network by the time you've graduated law school. How about applying for jobs? Well, job availability depends on the type of law you're pursuing and where you're pursuing it. So, keep in mind the state in which you take the bar. Look for firms with the kind of culture you're looking for. I mean, a lot of law firms are going to have 60 to 80-hour work weeks, especially at first. That's just how it's going to be. But make sure it's a place you can see yourself, being happy and excelling. And do remember that, if you're considering compensation, that salaries do vary based on the type of law you eventually decide to practice and your location. It's a lot of people's dreams to get those big jobs in New York City right out of law school, but that doesn't mean there aren't fantastic jobs in lots of other cities. I have friends who are very happy in Atlanta, in Boston, in places in California, and you don't even have to, be in a major city. There are, jobs for lawyers all over the country, so don't fret. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give it a like and leave us a comment below explaining why you might be interested in pursuing a career in law. To stay up to date with our latest videos, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on any of our new content.